Introducing
Pretty Girls Love Real Estate. Stories of everyday women breaking barriers and building wealth through real estate.
Let's get it. Boss. BOSS.
Hello. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Pretty Girls Love Real Estate podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Washington here. Just thank you for tuning in, everybody. I'm really excited for today's special guest. Her name is Alexis Miles. She is a serial entrepreneur. She has over like 65 different businesses. That's crazy. She is a woman of the people. She's doing so much great things in her community. She is a new mom. She's doing a lot of community cleanup. She's doing a lot of things to just inspire and impact everybody. And one of the main things that we're going to talk about today is her and her team have founded the Partnership Project, which she's buying up a bunch of land and taking over multiple blocks in North Philly. Shout out to Philly. So we're just going to let her talk more about it. So how you doing, Alexis? Thank you so much for coming on the show.
I'm good. Thank you. I appreciate you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So just give me a brief overview. Talk to me about the Partnership Project and what you guys are doing. What's your intentions with this project?
Yes. So the Partnership Project is an investment company that I formed to encourage group economics and to ultimately revitalize underserved communities. So that's what our focus is. We focus on investing in underserved communities with a long-term objective to create a positive social and economic impact in the neighborhood. So we're investing to grow our wealth and to create financial freedom, generational wealth, but also to make sure that as we're investing in these communities, that the people are better as well.
Okay. So what are some of the projects that you guys are doing now?
Right now, so we're in kind of a shift phase right now, actually. So that's a really good question. We're transitioning into launching an online investment program. So this is something that I've been working on for 2 years, and it's a really, really special project. So the Partnership Project really forms projects with young minorities, different entrepreneurs, service workers, people that care about rebuilding underserved communities. The online investment program is really just us adding additional infrastructure to our existing model so we can scale and we can grow and we can continue to build and just take these projects to a whole nother level. So our model and our concept and our investment strategies are very similar to how they've always been, but we're just transitioning more into focusing on education, focusing on being able to track our investments and actually project what our investments will do in the next 5 to 10 to 20 years. And that's a part of our desire to build generational wealth, to build sustainable wealth, to make sure that we're very strategic and very intentional with our wealth building strategies. So we still invest in vacant land primarily. We still focus on a specific target market in North Philadelphia. That is because our objective is to rebuild the community. So we aren't in different neighborhoods. Our focus is specifically on this community, specifically to make sure that when this community is thriving and flourishing, the people are better, they're healthier, they're wealthier, and they're able to experience the abundance with us.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the actual, I know you guys are building like a senior housing community. You're trying to, get rid of a food desert there in North Philly. Can you just talk about some of the like specific buildings and
Yeah.
actual resources that you're going to bring to the community?
Absolutely. So we are looking at this community redevelopment plan very holistically. So when we first went into the community, our objective was to really get a good feel for what they needed. And the feedback that we got from the community and from our expert opinion is basically, like you said, that it's a food desert, that they're lacking goods and services. They're lacking the healthy foods that they need to grow and to thrive. In addition to that, they're lacking like street infrastructure. There's a big trash problem there. So we took all of these things into consideration and implemented it into our community redevelopment plan. So we have a gateway cleanup program where we'll be working with different organizations to repair the sidewalks, to bring in trash bins, to implement safety and security. One of the things that the community indicated they needed was good quality senior housing. So we are actually designing and getting these projects approved for senior housing facilities, which is really exciting. They've indicated that they want affordable housing, they want home ownership opportunities, they want job opportunities. So all of these things we are incorporating into our plan to make sure that every single step along the way, they're participating and they're growing with us.
That's so dope.
Thank you. So the senior housing is major. They're really excited about that. So far, we have a 34 unit senior housing project that we've gotten approved, which means that we got the community support for that project, as well as the zoning board support. We're about 85% complete with a 50 unit senior housing facility. So that'll be 84 units total. So definitely gonna have a big impact. We've already gotten about 300 units approved in the community. So it's pretty
Okay, cool. That's so dope. Like you're definitely giving back to the community. Like I said, all those resources that are needed, that are missing in those areas. So I'm so glad that you all are doing this and creating something that's for us, by us. So I want to kind of just take a step back and, because this is some really high level stuff that you're dealing with. So I just want to hear like a brief story about how did you get involved in real estate? How did you get involved in land development? And, kind of how did you learn how to do all this?
Yeah, so I got into the industry because of my father. So my dad is a real estate developer. So he actually brought me in to assist him in 2009 with some of his development projects. And so I assisted by an internship, and then I took a couple year break and went to college, and then I actually came back to assist him in 2015 and have been working side by side with him ever since. So he's been in the real estate industry for more than 25 years. So he has a lot of experience. He's been through a lot of different community redevelopment projects. And really at the end of the day, I saw the process. Like I saw how much money he was making. I saw the impact in the community. I saw that, these underserved neighborhoods are really gold mines, and that there's a way to, if it's done strategically, as people are extracting the wealth out of these communities, to do it in a way where the people that are in poverty are able to capture some of that wealth too. So when I saw the opportunity and I saw the process, I wanted to participate immediately. And so it actually started off as a bet. He basically told me that I couldn't roll with him if I didn't put myself in a couple of deals. So he told me, by the end of the year, I need you to get your weight up. Like, I'll teach you how to put a deal together, but I need you to execute. if you want to roll with me. Like, you want to build, you need to buy land. This is how you do it. I'll walk you through the process because someone walked him through the process, you know? So he taught me how to put a deal together. He told me, I think by the end of the year, he wanted me to have leverage myself into like 3 to 5 deals. By the end of the year, I had purchased 15 lots. So definitely exceeded his expectations. I exceeded my expectations, but the only reason I was able to do that is because of people like you, that reached out and participate and had the same passion for these neighborhoods that I did. So I started forming partnerships with like-minded people. We pulled our money together and we just started running it up, just started buying as much vacant land as we could in this concentrated area. And then it really developed and turned into just something way better than I could have ever imagined. So I'm grateful.
That's dope. I really like appreciate the part where you said, you know, obviously your father has been involved in this business for a while and he was able to pass on a lot of those skills and the knowledge and his relationships and whatever to you. I mean, you know, a lot of our people, we're getting involved in real estate in this new wave, but we're kind of starting from scratch a lot of times. So we have to learn, we have to develop the relationships, we have to build the capital, which is, you know, a high barrier to entry with that. So I'm glad that your father is really passing on his generational legacy, like you always say, and passing on to you. And obviously, you know, you're going to pass it on to your kids as well. And so that kind of brings me to the next topic. That's a good segue. You're a new mom. So I want to hear about how, you know, how the birth of your daughter has kind of changed your perspective and just changed your life in terms of dealing with real estate and, you know, passing on that generational legacy.
Yes, you know, it's funny because I was really advocating for generational wealth before my daughter was even a thought, and I knew the importance of it. I felt the importance of it, but now that she's here, I'm definitely grateful for the seeds that I've sown and the work that I've put in. Like, I definitely encourage anyone that has a family or wants a family in the future or has nieces, nephews, godkids, like, we have to pour into this infrastructure of generational wealth. We have to prepare for it. Like, we have to do it strategically if we want it to be sustainable and for them to be in a position to manage it with care. Like, there's, you know, the financial literacy aspect, just understanding the investments, understanding the value of the investments so they keep them and they maintain them. And we're not losing sight control of all of this work that we've put in. So I definitely think that she has inspired me to just keep going, to really shown me like why I'm doing this, that this is for her, this is for her family. And then also, like, you know, me and my dad and my aunt and my cousins, we're all partnered. Like, we pulled our money together and we bought land in this community. So it's not just me and friends, like it's a family business. It's a real family business. I was able to rally up like almost 20 family members to buy into this neighborhood in North Philly. And that wasn't easy. So when I think about generational wealth, it's actually my viewpoint now that I'm a mom is so much bigger than what I was thinking originally. You know, I'm looking at like doing this for my cousin's kids, and just making sure that, you know, my daughter isn't the only one that's good, that her cousins are good too, and that we're all like able to benefit from this work that we've been putting in. So it's exciting. Definitely been a really inspiring process.
That's amazing. You definitely got to put the whole family on, the whole extended family, friends in the community. So that's dope. I really appreciate it. And I'm glad to be, you know, a part of the Partnership Project family. We met a couple of years ago and you really inspire me and you continue to inspire me. So I'm just thankful for all the work that you're doing. So I want to kind of back up and talk about, like, I guess the technical aspects of things. And can you just walk us through briefly what the process is of going from buying some land to developing it and then eventually getting to the point where you sell it for a profit?
Absolutely. So I think out of all of the different aspects of land development, when you see projects, like when you see developers building new construction buildings and you kind of wrap your head around the concept of development and community redevelopment, I think the most important part is understanding highest and best use. So that's something that our team really specializes in, but it's also really connected to making sure that you're creating a positive impact. So when you're identifying a potential development deal, whether it's just a vacant parcel of land or it has an existing structure on it, either way, it's really, really important to understand what highest and best use means and what it is for that specific site. So what I mean by that is there's a lot of different types of asset classes in real estate. So you have single family, multifamily, commercial, industrial. There's all these different types of real estate. And I think what makes our group really unique is before we even focus on the actual building and the construction and the potential money that could come from it, we're looking at the site and identifying like what is the highest and best use for this site. And I think that's a game changer. Sometimes what the site is currently zoned for, the use that you can use the site for. So if it's zoned single family, you can build a single family home. Sometimes that's not highest and best use. Sometimes you would be doing a disservice to the community by building what it's currently zoned for. And that's a concept that I've really dug very deep into over the past 5 years is, you know, what do these people need? What does the community need? Aside from what I see on paper that I'm allowed to build, what do they really need? And I think the senior housing projects are such a cool example of that. So we came in a couple years ago, we identified these really large vacant parcels of land in this residential area, right? So the lot was 12,500 square feet. For anyone that's not sure how big that is, that's a really good size lot. But it was currently zoned single family. So by right, if we wanted to go get a building permit and actually build something on this site, we could only do one single home. That's not a good use for that property in an area that's very underserved. So like the neighborhood needs more than just one home on a really large site. And so because we know that and because we were able to pay attention to that and then meet with the community and get a good idea of what they need, we actually identified that that site was more suitable for 34 senior housing units with a lobby and a roof deck and a community room and a rooftop garden and programs for the seniors and a trash plan and all different types of things. So what we did was we went with our architect, we designed up our concept of what is best for this site, which was again 34 units. We incorporated, you know, the bike racks and literally the whole entire package of what our vision was for what was best for that site. And we presented it to the community. They voted in support of that project. We then went and presented it to the zoning board and they granted us our variance. So now instead of building one unit like we were originally only allowed to do and collect one rent check or provide housing for one family, we're now able to collect 34 rent checks and provide housing for 34 families. seniors to be exact, which is something that they need in that community. So that when you look at community redevelopment and buying vacant land, I think that's like the biggest, most major key that I could give is that is financially, just from a financial perspective, it's a game changer, because not only are we giving the community what they need, and we're designing a building that they can now thrive in, but we just increased our wealth. Like that site now is so much more valuable now that it's approved for 34 units instead of 1. But from a builder or a developer standpoint, if I'm looking for a development project, the cost to build a single family home might be $250,000. So you got a $250,000 project. The cost to build a 34 unit property might exceed $10 million. So it's a completely different type of project. The amount of money that a developer could pay to build a single family home is much less than what they can pay if they're building a $10 million project. So just understanding those things, it's the same site. We didn't change the lot, but we understood the value, and we understood that what the city allowed us to do there was not in the best interest of the community. And because of that, and because of our expertise, and because of the fact that we met with the community and got a really good grasp of what they needed, the city saw that and they bought in and they believe in our vision. And that's kind of what community redevelopment is about, is really doing the extra work and taking the extra steps to increase the value, and to do it while creating a positive impact at the same time.
I'm glad that you said that, because when you're developing, you got to have vision and foresight. Like you said, there was zone for single family homes, but you guys kind of had your exit in mind before you started. This is what the highest and best use is from a financial standpoint, and what the community wants and needs. And that's also important, because there's a lot of people that come and develop our neighborhoods and they build stuff that's not for us. I like the fact that you guys went into the community and actually asked their opinion, like, what do we want here? What do we need here? So we can serve the community, but we're also, like you said, we're profitable at the same time. So that's, in a nutshell, that's super dope.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what, how has your business kind of changed, or how has this pandemic kind of affected everything that you have going on?
Yeah, so I think the biggest change for the partnership project has been adjusting our infrastructure to match the demand. And that's important, because I want to get ahead of the demand, so my business and the model and the foundation of these partnerships can handle us scaling. Like I think that, when I went into it originally, I knew that we needed to pull our money together and start buying up our own communities, but I didn't fully realize how ready we were, and how ready the culture was to really go in and buy neighborhoods up. And so because of that, a lot of the infrastructure and technology and stuff like that, that had to be implemented after the fact. So that's probably like one of my biggest lessons in business is when you're starting a business, you really want to almost like try to look into the future to your best possible scenario. Like don't look at it like, oh, I might get 100 subscribers. Like look at it like, okay, what'll happen if I get 100,000 subscribers? For me, like, oh, I might get 50 investors. What'll happen when you get 250 or 1,000 investors? How will that change your process of even networking and meeting like-minded people. There's only so many hours in the day for me to talk and communicate with people. So how can I build out the foundation of my business so we're efficient and we're sustainable and we can continue to grow and continue to partner and continue to build with dope, like-minded people. So I think that has been the biggest change for me. I started forming partnerships in 2015. We formed dozens of partnerships every single year until 2018. And in 2018, that was actually the last year that I formed my last partnership. So for the last 2 years, I've been just focusing on all of the projects that we formed in the first 3 years. So the partnership project has been in business for 5 years. For the first 3 years, we were forming probably about 75 to 100 partnerships a year and acquiring about 15 to 20 assets a year. So we did a lot. We made a lot of progress. We were able to get site control of over 60 vacant parcels in the community. We own them free and clear. That was just a result of us pouring our resources and our capital together. So we had a lot of wins. And what I'm really most excited about is taking all of those lessons that we learned throughout the process and building out an infrastructure. So as we continue to grow our wealth, we're able to incorporate technology and projections and lots of really amazing things that other fund managers and investment groups on Wall Street have access to. So like the ability to log in and check your investments and the ability to look at your portfolio and see like, okay, if I keep growing it at this rate, it'll be worth X in 10 years. Like that type of infrastructure is where I want to take us into the future, because, you know, what we've done and what we've built is we've pulled, you know, a couple $1 million together and grown it significantly. But what I'm looking towards is how can we own equity in companies that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars? So what do we need to do? What infrastructure do we need to take this, you know, $7 million portfolio to be a $70 million portfolio? So that's kind of where my head is at. Same model, same morals and ethics and values, but what type of infrastructure and technology do we need to add so we can keep running it up and grow even more?
That's dope. That's dope. I really like that. I mean, basically you're saying stay ready, so you have to get ready. And you touched on the importance of having systems. You know, people, you know, you want to build as you grow, but I like that you had the foresight that we know we're going to be, you know, 10X. We know that we're going to have so many investors in the future. So let's get the infrastructure. Let's get everything in place now. So we're not, you know, trying to fumble when that time comes. We are trying to prepare for the demand before we have it. So that's awesome. So I kind of want to just touch on really quick, like, you know, like you're doing big boss moves. So like, how has that been for you? I guess psychologically, like, you know, you have people's money on the line, you have a lot of people that are invested, you have employees. Obviously, you already said you're putting your whole family on. So how has that kind of been for you to just, you know, be responsible for all of this?
Oh, yeah, it's a lot. I'm not gonna lie. I think that for anyone out there that has big dreams, like I can't say, at least in my experience, that it gets like easy. You know what I mean? I think nothing good comes easy. Like every single blessing comes with a burden, in my opinion. And, you know, I think that even when you're a celebrity, like that's great for some celebrities, they enjoy that, but they go outside and the burden is like they're bombarded. And they can't go to the grocery store in peace, you know? So every blessing comes with a burden. And I think that, you know, the burden for me is just understanding that when you're a leader, you have a responsibility to see it through. So I'm a person, we all go through things, you know, we all have ups and downs, we all have death and things that we have to deal with in our life, and things in the media that affect us and break us down, you know what I mean? So I am just a regular person. I have, you know, things that hurt me and set me back, and, you know, I think what has been like the most motivating thing for me just over the past couple of years, dealing with everything that has come up, is just like accepting the responsibility of leadership, and understanding that, like, okay, I'm not always gonna feel really strong, but I was chosen and I don't have a choice. Like, and I know that to some people that might sound weird, like, oh, we all have a choice. But if you accept the responsibility to be the person that breaks the cycle of poverty in your family, or that educates people and creates a movement in your family, if you accept the responsibility to be an activist, to educate people about financial literacy, to be a teacher, like, we're all leaders in our own way. And I think that for me, like, I just look at it like I really don't have a choice. So even when I get to a point where I feel discouraged, or, you know, I see things that just make me feel like we have so many leaders that have been amazing examples that have been killed and eliminated. And so there's things that, like, impact you as a leader, and when you consume such a responsibility, I think that for me, like, it's just a matter of continuously reminding myself, like, you were chosen, like, and you were chosen, and then you took it and you ran with it. And so there's no going back. Like, you know, even if I wanted to give up myself for my own family, I got hundreds of people that are doing this for their family. You know what I mean? So it's just a matter of, like, really taking it one day at a time, and understanding that, like, we have everything we need. We have the strength. We really, really do have the strength, even on the worst day, to just get to the next day. And I think for me too, like, the major thing is making sure that I'm doing things that I love. Like, I think when I look back at the last 5 years, any time that the work was really hard for me was because I deviated from what my why was, and what really got me excited, and what really woke me up. And then I stayed in that space for too long. Like, I stayed in the, oh, I'm not, I don't enjoy this. So I think for me, like, I'm 28 years old. So I've had ups and downs, like, throughout my whole life. And I think what has consistently gotten me back on track is just, like, kind of refocusing and reshifting my energy back to, like, what makes me happy? Why am I doing this? And I think for the partnership project, like, for example, like, one of probably the hardest things that I've had to go through is dealing with, like, some poverty mindsets, and then understanding that, like, just even understanding what a poverty mindset is. And for me, like, when my intention is pure and I'm trying to help people, that part was hard for me, is people looking at me like, you know, oh, you're just coming into our neighborhood like every other developer, you don't care about us. And that part was something that it's like, okay, you know, don't take it personal. So I had to really take it personal, like, take what they were saying and really try to do the work to get them comfortable, which we did. And it took a lot of time for the community to embrace us. But once we did, it was like I was able to kind of look back at that and say like, okay, I could have done certain mindset things to not allow that to be so debilitating. Like you can't, when you're a leader and you're trying to break poverty and build generational wealth and can completely change your life, you can't allow people that doubt you to debilitate you. And I think that was like probably the best, most abundant lesson I could have learned, because as I transition into this next chapter, I have a completely different mindset about it.
Like Jay-Z said, everybody trying to tell you how to do it, they never did it. And I'm glad that you touched on those things. Like when you're trying to do something new, when you're trying to do something bigger than, anything else you've done before, any other people that have done before, you sometimes face like imposter syndrome. You face, feelings of being inadequate. What am I doing here? I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm, inspired. That was you taking us to church, girl, Sunday. You taking us to church. You're really inspiring us. So I really appreciate everything that you're doing. I want to see you win. Keep pushing forward. Like I definitely are gonna be, keeping on with your journey. And I know you're gonna be doing way bigger and better things, and you've already done some amazing stuff. But I know you're going to the next level. So let's I just want to wrap this up here with our like kind of last segment that we do for every guest that we have on the show. It's called our Fabulous Four, which is 4 really quick questions. So whatever comes to the top of your mind when I ask you, just fire away. So number 1 is, what is your favorite book about real estate?
Favorite book about real estate. That's a good question. I don't even know if I have a favorite book about real estate. Actually, I'm gonna plug Ayesha Selden's book. She just dropped an ebook. It's called Mud to Millions. I definitely recommend that you guys go grab that book. Definitely drops gems about how to build wealth, how to break the cycle of poverty, lots of tips and resources. So it's called Mud to Millions.
So you actually jumped ahead. That was one of my next questions, was going to be to shout out another woman, doing something really good in real estate. So you basically answered 2 questions there. That's awesome. We're going to drop the link to her book, in the bio and the comments and everything, so everybody can check that out. So that's 2 questions right there. And then the next one is, knowing what you know now, what advice would you kind of give to your younger self just getting started in, this real estate journey?
I would say just be patient. Like I tell myself that all the time, like be patient, be patient. I think patience is key, because if you're not patient, like I think the opposite of patience can be like you're rowdy, you're impatient, it's not fast enough, like all of the emotions that can come as a result of not just going the course and not having that like peace in your heart, and that comes with patience. I think that is the major key. Like it's such a journey. Life is such a journey. I learn more every single day. Like I am a better version of myself literally every single day. And I just don't look back. Like I try really hard to evaluate certain things that I could improve, and then I just look forward and be patient with yourself along the way. Like it takes time to heal, it takes time to grow, it takes time to manifest $1 million businesses. Like none of this stuff happens overnight.
It's a marathon. Okay. And then the last question is, what's a topic concerning real estate that you personally want to learn more about in the future?
I would say I'm interested in learning more about tax credits. We focus on funding our own projects ourselves, 100% of them. And there's a lot of different resources and funding available for inner city underserved community development. As I transition more into really leading and directing the social impact space, I'm going to really, really make it my priority to get access to anything that can help us move our agenda forward. So I think, just focusing on the resources that are available to help us get to the end goal. I think we really undervalue help and undervalue assistance. And there's a lot of organizations and nonprofits and for-profits that have funding and resources available for these type of communities. So I think just really educating myself and making sure that whatever is available, that I know about it and that my partners do as well.
That's really important. I'm glad you said that. Because especially when you're dealing with affordable housing, there's definitely a lot of programs out there like low income tax credits that will help you kind of curtail those taxes, which are a major expense when you're dealing with real estate and investing. So I know some people that can definitely put you on and are knowledgeable about that subject. So I can definitely link you with that, girl. So we're going to get you the knowledge for sure, for sure. So lastly, I know you have a podcast coming up and you have some other projects. So just briefly tell us about some of the things that you have coming up.
Yeah, so I'm launching a podcast called Impact for the Culture. And it's all things impact, and we do it for the culture. So I'm really excited about it. My objective with the podcast is to really use that platform as a space where I can share all of the information that's been given to me throughout my life and really just sow seeds, just give back. And at this point in my life, I really feel like I'm just overflowing with information. And I say that always because it's just so true. I can't say it enough. I've been blessed with all of the different people that I've met and the experience that I've been through and the lessons that I've learned. And I almost feel like I can't transition and shift into the next chapter until I start releasing some of this information and really sharing it and providing resources to people that don't exactly know which steps to take to transition out of poverty and to start building generational wealth.
That's super dope. So when can we expect the first episode for that?
The first episode is going to be dropping in June. And all of the information about the podcast can be found on my personal Instagram, which is Faithfully Wealthy, or anyone can follow the podcast Instagram, which will be Impact for the Culture.
All right, cool. So if people want to invest with you or they want to contact you and ask any questions, find out more about what you have going on, where can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, the best place I would say is Instagram. So definitely feel free to visit my page. You can send me a DM. Again, it's Faithfully Wealthy, or you can send me an email, and the link is on my Instagram as well for that.
All right, girl. I really appreciate you coming on the show. This was very valuable for me, and I hope everybody listening found value, got inspired, learned something new today. So I really appreciate you. I can't wait to see all the great things that you have coming up soon. So definitely can't wait to hear the podcast. Can't wait to see everything that you have coming up. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you. I appreciate you. And I'm definitely proud of you. Everything that you're doing, this is much needed. This platform is appreciated. I will be an avid listener. So thank you. I appreciate you as well.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, everybody. This is this week's episode. Join us next week for the next episode of Pretty Girls Love Real Estate podcast. Thank you.